We have got to be ready. PDP family! PDP family! We have got to be ready. And you know why? It's because in 2020, Tobago, you now have the opportunity to change the course of this island. You now have an opportunity to take us from the downward spiral that we've been heading for the last 19 years. Spin it around and give Tobago a chance to actually develop. You have a chance to help us redefine Tobago's independence. I want you all to say it with me. Redefine Tobago's independence. Say it one more time. Redefine Tobago's independence. And what do we mean by that? Because I'm sure when Mr. Duke spoke about that at the launch, people started thinking, what is he talking about? We now have an opportunity. Because what is the opposite of independence? What is the opposite of independence? Dependent. What are we now? We depend on Trinidad for everything. Everything. And it's about time that we change that narrative. It's about time that we go back to where we once were, because you know that Tobago was actually independent before we were given to Trinidad. Did you all know that? They tried to tell you that we were never there and we can't be there because they want to keep you afraid. You cannot be afraid. You cannot be kept in bondage. We want you to feed ourselves. And in addition to feeding ourselves, we fed Trinidad and all of the other Caribbean islands. Don't let them fool you. We did it from this little island. We once governed ourselves because we had our own Tobago constitution. You all ever knew that? Exactly. We used to police ourselves. We did all of that way back then. And we are in a position now, Tobago, to get us back to this point where we are no longer dependent on Trinidad for every damn thing. And I need you. I need each and every one of you to sit back and to think a little bit about what we can do differently. The Progressive Democratic Patriots, what we are saying is for us in Tobago to be truly independent, because if we are independent, we will be part of a stronger union known as Trinidad and Tobago. It's as if two big people, you know, when you're supposed to be getting married, it's two big people, two big independent people supposed to come together and say, hey, the two of us, we love each other. I bring this, you bring that, and we come together as a marriage. And that is what we are talking about when we are talking about redefining Tobago's independence within a stronger union known as Trinidad and Tobago. So we're talking about three main things. We're talking about political independence, we're talking about judicial independence, and we're talking about economic independence. What does that mean? Political independence. You all know that if we in Tobago decide that we want to make a law, public health fine or you're throwing too much rubbish all over the place, and we want to make a law to charge you $2,000 when you throw your rubbish. You know that we cannot do that in Tobago? We cannot do that. And as a matter of fact, they can do it in Port of Spain, they can do it in Arima, they can do it in San Fernando, they can do it and take it straight to the president and the president signs it. If we do it in Tobago, yes. If we do it in Tobago, we have to send it to the cabinet in Trinidad. Let them decide when they're putting it in the parliament. Let them debate it. Let them put it in a JSC as they're doing with our autonomy bill right now. And then they will decide whether it is passed or not. If we in Tobago and we want to pass a law for something that bothering we should be able to do it right here. We're talking about judicial independence. You all ever notice that it has something named Arima Borough Police? San Fernando Borough Police? That is because those areas have the authority to have their own police force. So what? Who is we? If we in Tobago want to have our own police force here, why can't we do it? We need to be able to do exactly that because it is what we need to do. We need, and I want you all to listen to me carefully, because we have some young boys who might be giving a little bit of trouble. When they give trouble in Tobago, we shouldn't be sending them down to Trinidad to make them no hardened criminals. Because we should have our own prison here, we should have our own rehabilitation center here, so our young boys, if they behave a little bit bad, they're staying right here and we could deal with them right here. We are talking about economic independence. And one of the things, and I am glad that our deputy political leader, Oliagian Lisi, spoke about it. Because one of the biggest things we have to ensure here is that if something is for Tobago, if we buy wood, if we buy a car, whatever, it should be able to land right here in Tobago first. There is no reason for us to have to sell it to Trinidad and then we have to find ourselves in Trinidad, find ourselves in Point, down there for 2-3 days, have to pay the rent because it's there for 2-3 days. The customs officer is showing up. You now have to find where you staying because the customs officer didn't show up that day. Why can't it come right here? If we want to borrow some money because we need to do something for our economy, why do we have to ask Trinidad for them permission? That, my dear, is what we are talking about. Ensuring that we develop together strong. So when Tobago could stand up like man, and Trinidad stand up like man, and then come together and say, we are negotiating. So this is what the union between Trinidad and Tobago is. It's not no little boy or little girl begging any big brother or big sister for anything. Tobago, you have an opportunity now to change the course of history. Do not take this opportunity lightly. Do not let those red people over there who killing themselves fighting around each other come and tell you that you cannot do it. They were given, by the time the THA election comes around, 20 years. And what have you gotten? Absolutely nothing. So the question is how? How? In 2020, we have the general election. And we are asking you to vote Mr. Who? Watson Duke. We are asking you to vote Mr. Watson Duke in the East. And this evening, you would see and you would hear the young lady that we are asking you to vote in the West. Why are we asking you to do that? We are asking you to do that because my political leader, Mr. Watson Duke, is a man of his word. When he say doing something, bet your bottom dollar he's doing it. And that is why they don't like him. That is why they send police for him all the time wherever he goes. Because they know that if the man says he is doing something, he will do it. So let me explain one of the first things. If you, Tobago, gives the Mr. Watson Duke and the young lady your votes for Tobago East and Tobago West, what will happen? They will go down to Trinidad. And those two big parties in Trinidad, the red and them and the yellow and them, the way they are going right now, there is going to be a tie-up situation in Trinidad. It means that the two Tobago seats are going to determine who becomes the Prime Minister and who becomes the opposition leader. And because the PDP is a Tobago-based, Tobago-bred, we have no affiliation with none of them down here. When we say, okay, you need our help to determine who is the president or who is the prime minister and who is the opposition leader, one of the first things we are going to ask for is for them to change the Tobago House of Assembly Act and give us 10% of the budget. So, you see this foolishness where we just been doing up our budget in Tobago, presenting it in Tobago, ask for $4 billion, send it to Trinidad, and when they get to Trinidad, they cross up this, they cut it up, and send back $2 billion for it. None of that. None of that. If the budget is 70 billion, we want with 7. And you, Trinidad, can't tell we what to do with it. We do with it what we want. And let me tell you how this can be done. You all realize that in December, they took less than 30 days, less than a month, to draft, pass, debate, revise, tell you is male when it's supposed to be female, tell you is female when it's supposed to be male, and then after all of that, they call the president out of the house on a Saturday or Sunday to sign it. The Tobago House of Assembly Act is an act that requires a simple majority to change. Mr. Duke and his partner, who will be going down, one of the first things we are going to do is to say, hey, you see that little part of the THA Act that talk about we have to send down and 4.03 and whatever, nah, all you take the month, because all you could do it in a month and change that to 10%. And then you have to ask, what next? The PDP is asking you because you have seen what those people in red have done with money for the last 20 years. Tobago had to be crazy to give them that 10% for them to manage. Left, right, and center, well, we know where that will be going. So you, Tobago, cannot make the same mistake we made 20 years ago. Because remember, after Mr. Charles fought for the 4.03% to 6 point whatever percent, right after he fought and we got it, they voted him out. And then Mr. London and now Mr. Charles came in and they had 20 years of reaping the benefit of that hard work. And Tobago, you need to tell yourself, you need to look wrong, you need to be honest with yourself to see 20 years, $60 billion. What have we to show for that? So you cannot take God out of your thoughts, as my mother does say, to then give them back that 10%. Tobago, as my colleague said, we are doing this because we are putting people before politics. We are doing this because we want to ensure that if I could go to the hospital and get good treatment, you could go to the hospital and get good treatment too. If my child and Mr. Duke's child could go in a big school somewhere, your child should be able to go in a big school too. If they can get a work somewhere that paying $20,000 and $30,000, your child should be able to get a work that paying $10,000 and $20,000 and $30,000 a month too. We are not doing this for us. I am Dr. B.Yisrael. I have a degree from one of the best schools in the world. Tomorrow morning I could pick up and go from here if I want to. But no, Tobago educated me, and Tobago needs to benefit from this education. That's why we are asking every single one of you. In 2020, whenever they call the general election, you need to put the Progressive Democratic Patriots. That's the only thing you should see on that ballot paper. And in January or whenever the THA election comes around, the only thing you should see on that ballot paper is the Progressive Democratic Patriots. Because we are here to put people before politics. Say it with me one more time. People before politics. One more time, because I need you to know you deserve it. People before politics.